Hello, everyone, and welcome to a rich and golden episode of the Broken Speaker Podcast. My name is Greg, and I am joined by my co-host and brother, Brian. Today, we are discussing the lottery and what happens when someone wins it.
That's right, Greg, and this is a pretty long-standing topic. There have been some huge lottery winners here in the United States recently, but it seems like every year there's a new record jackpot, and some lucky person manages to snag it.
Exactly, but before we dive into our topic some more, let's go ahead and talk about something you don't have to win the lottery to enjoy. Beer. Brian, what are you drinking today?
So today, I am drinking something a little bit themed, and it's because earlier this week, from the time that we're recording it, it was Mardi Gras. And down in Louisiana, Mardi Gras is the biggest holiday that I know of that is from that state. So I chose a beer, Purple Haze, from Abita Brewing Company. It's a raspberry lager. It is a light-looking beer. Now, it looks a little cloudy. There's a few little white specks in it right now that are floating around. So I'm a little, I don't know how to say timid. Not timid. Timid is not the right word, but it's a little off-putting at first. So I'm hoping that it can go through and the taste is going to overcome the look of it right now. So I'll let you guys know how that is in the end of the podcast. But Greg, what are you drinking?
So today I have a brew from Griffin Claw Brewing Company. It is part of the Independent Craft Brewers Association. And the drink I have is Copyright Cream Ale. Now, I don't think I've ever had a true cream ale. And I'm not exactly sure how this is supposed to taste or what I'm supposed to drink it with. But the can that it has come in is pretty cool looking. It doesn't give much more information than that. It's very nondescript for sure. But hopefully it tastes good. And I guess at the end of the episode, I'll let you guys know how it went. Now, Brian, I hear you have some beer enrichment facts for us today.
Yes, and I hope everybody's sitting down in a chair right now because this beer enrichment fact is going to hit you really hard. And actually, you know what? I think that we might need a little bit of mood setting for this enrichment fact. Greg, do you happen to have a little bit of music queued up for this?
Yes, I can hit the sad music.
Okay, perfect. We can get the mood go. That's good. That's perfect right there. Okay, so we're going to go back to London, England in 1814, and just to set this mood and the scene for you a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Horseshoe Brewery. Now, back then they used to brew in large wooden fermentation tanks, and in 1814, one of the rings that was holding up this large wooden fermentation tank actually snapped and dropped this wooden barrel and made all the beer come crashing out of it. The amount of beer in that one barrel? 3,500 barrels. Now, to give you an idea a little bit more of how many barrels or how much beer that is, one barrel of beer is 31 gallons. Or, if you want to think about it a little bit easier terms for most Americans to think, that's 2 kegs of beer per barrel. So we're looking at 7,000 kegs of a brown porter. Now, this wave of beer that came out of the tank actually ruptured some more tanks as well. So the final number of beer was 320,000 gallons of beer.
That's a lot of beer.
Yeah, and it's a sad day for any beer enthusiast. So there were some eyewitness reports that the wave was 15 feet high at some points. And because of this, 8 people died in this catastrophe.
That's not the worst way to go, getting drowned in beer. Still sad, but, I mean...
You know what? If I have to go, I hope that it's a wave of beer. So, but anyways, because people did die in this accident, the brewery owners were, of course, taken to court, and, they had a jury of their peers judging them. But the jury decided that the brewery owners should be given a break. And they were cleared of any wrongdoing, and were even given a excise tax to pay them back for, or a refund of the excise tax that they paid on the beer that was being produced. So they got money back for this accident as well.
They made off like bandits, huh?
They really did. So in the grand scheme of thing, everybody was happy. I'm sure the brewery made more beer, except for those 8 people. Those 8 people were too happy. But
yes,
you know what? We're back to making beer, and the great beer flood of 1814 can be put behind us. So I think we can wrap up the sad music now, Greg, because we're going to move on to a more happy topic for most people, especially if you've ever won the lottery. I mean, if I ever won the lottery, I know that I would probably be pretty ecstatic. I would hope that I would be pretty ecstatic. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, duh. You're basically making off like a bandit, almost like that brewery.
Yeah, a couple times over.
Yeah, one in millions chances of winning extreme amounts of money that can seriously change your life. But now, Brian, have you ever played the lottery? Do you play the lottery often?
So I've only played the lottery once, and a lot of people probably have heard about 2 years ago now. In 2016, there was a $1.5 billion lottery jackpot that was won by 3 different people. I played for that jackpot, and that was the only time that I've ever bought a lottery ticket. Now, I walked in the grocery store, had no idea what I was doing, had no numbers in mind. I heard that you could just get a random set. I walked up to the counter, and the cashier working the counter, she looked at me and she says, "You want to buy a lottery ticket, don't you?" So I don't think I was the only one that was trying to figure out how to buy a lottery ticket when it got to that level. But that was obviously I didn't win. But that was the only time that I've ever bought a lottery ticket, Greg. What about you?
I've never played the lottery myself. I've helped my parents play the lottery, if you count going and purchasing tickets for them as playing the lottery for someone. Essentially, when I visit and, we go to the grocery store with my parents, my mom will send me off and say, "Hey, go get the lottery ticket while I check out." So that's the extent of my lottery involvement. I really don't enjoy gambling. I really do think it's just throwing money away. And I mean, sure, even though you can win a ton of money, I'd prefer to keep that money and I don't know, use it or invest it somewhere else. So I haven't played the lottery, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, and what's funny is that you bring up the idea of gambling. Now, I enjoy gambling. I enjoy going to casinos. I like playing, fantasy football. I like betting on sports. That is something that I enjoy to do, and the lottery still doesn't seem attractive to me, and I think it has to do a lot with the odds. So, I mean, the chances of winning a Powerball is 1 in 292 million. And, chances of hitting a number on the roulette table is 1 in 37 if you count 0 and 00. So I see those odds a little bit more attractive. Now, chances are if I were to go and, take $5 and, buy a Powerball ticket or take $5 and put it on a number in roulette, I'm not going to win either way. Let's be honest. That's probably is what's going to happen. But I feel like I could possibly win a little bit more often. For instance, I've hit a number in roulette. I've won in roulette before. I've never won in Powerball. I guess that might be my thinking.
Yeah, the odds are a little bit more manageable in a casino, and the results are more tangible because not only you can win and you have a better chance of winning, people around you are winning, and you kind of see that interaction. So, yeah, the casino is definitely more attractive when it comes to winning stuff like this, but you're never going to get the payout that you can from playing the lottery. That is just the astronomical amount. I mean, 1.5 billion, people win hundreds of millions over, I don't know, almost all the time, it seems like.
And look at that kid from Florida earlier this year, $240 million at 20 years old.
What would you do if you won the lottery of $240 million at 20 years old, Brian? Would you be smart?
Absolutely not. I can tell you 100% that at 20 years old, I had no idea how to manage money. And if I had $240 million, that would not be a good thing. Not be a good thing for anyone. I can tell you that if I was in that situation, I would be planning the most epic 21st birthday party ever at that point in my life.
That's pretty ambitious, Brian. 21st birthday party, probably spend it all on fancy bottles of champagne or something that, is definitely going to be worth it the next day, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not the smartest thing you can do with your money, but I was reading some of the stuff from him, from his news interviews, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna really focus on making sound financial decisions and putting away money so that myself and my family have a secure financial future for the foreseeable future." But he's not. That's not him saying that, Greg.
Do you think it's his parents behind him telling him what to do?
I don't know. Maybe it's his parents, or if I was in that situation and if I logically thought out what I should do, what the next step should be, I think the number one thing I would do is get a lawyer. I think I'd get a lawyer right out the bat. So maybe that he's got one of those too.
Yeah, okay. So let's start talking about what you even do when you actually win the lottery and you have this massive amount of money that's going to come falling down on you. So the first thing I think you have to do is get a lawyer, of course, but you also have to get probably a team of financial advisors or different types of attorneys that can help you in plan what exactly you are going to do with this money. Because nobody really thinks about it, but you can't just take that large sum of money and drop it in a bank or throw it on the stock market. It's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple, Greg. And I don't think that I think that anybody who doesn't have that money right now, they don't know all of the ins and outs with it. I'm sure that there's a lot of legal ways. Like, I don't think that I could take that money and put it in my bank account that I have right now. Like, I probably have to get, like, some special bank account.
Yeah, definitely. You have to get an offshore account somewhere. Maybe a Swiss gold account or something.
This is starting to sound very much like Bond villainish. Like, oh, we tracked the money to an offshore bank account.
Yes. There's going to be a secret island with a old Cold War era missile base that's inhabited by you and a bunch of villainous goons. That's how you're going to spend your money, right?
Absolutely. I would enjoy that. Like, if I had my own island... Yeah, absolutely. I would totally have it like set up like not like a Pierce Brosnan Bond movie. Those are too elaborate and too much technology. I'm thinking more like back with Sean Connery, and back when it was just kind of like simple gadgets and a warhead.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Old Soviet nuclear base on a random deserted island. That's my speed.
Okay, yeah, so who needs lawyers or attorneys? Basically, just listen to us. We have the most sound financial advice in the world.
Perfect. So, Greg, one of the things about the lottery is that you can either choose a lump sum or to get an annuity over 30 years. What would you do?
Well, now, I think personally I would do the lump sum, because what good is it to have money coming out over an extended period of time and smaller amounts of money? Sure, you can get a little bit more reasonably financial sound stability with having some sort of a payment come over an extended period of time. But let's be realistic here. I want to use that money. I want to do something with it. So I need it all right now, and as soon as I win. So that's my opinion. I don't think you would ever really have a good reason to go for accepting an annuity over an extended period of time. But yeah, what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that I would choose to go for the lump sum. But I was thinking about this a little bit more, and if you go for the annuity, I would only go for the annuity if I was already very financially set. So let's say that I was playing the lottery, but I was already living a very wealthy life. I had a lot in the bank account. I had a lot of money coming in. I would just use that to kind of supplement it. But if I was, at the level that I am right now, just after college, I would probably want to jump up a few levels and get to, a high class, wealthy status and cars and other stuff. But we'll talk about what we would buy with the lottery a little bit later in this episode. But I think the biggest thing that we need to think about is, how do you not panic in this situation? Because if I saw that I have a winning lottery ticket, I don't know if I could contain myself. What about you, Greg?
Yeah, well, I think I could contain myself. I definitely think I would freak out inside, at least. Maybe I wouldn't show it on the surface, but I do think I would be able to kind of keep my cool. Now, I say that, but you never know. When it happens, I'm sure everybody has a different gut reaction or, some sort of a knee-jerk reaction that you have to receiving large sums of money. But I feel like I could definitely contain myself and not panic, not give out some sort of exuberant scream so that my neighbors think something crazy happened. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, do you think you would be able to not panic?
I think that it would take a lot of self-control. I think that I don't know if it would fully hit me, the gravity of what happened, for a couple days. And I think one of the main things that I'd have to work on is trying not to tell anyone. And I that would be very difficult because I would be happy. I'd want to be able to share this with, friends and family. But I don't know if telling everyone is the right way to go.
Now, Brian, we're brothers. You and me. We're brothers, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you win the lottery, you're telling me, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, what was the hesitation there?
I don't know. I just, Dad gave us some very good advice. And he once said that if my mother and him won the lottery, then we, our brothers, the three of us, would not know that they won the lottery. So
they would just start buying fancy cars every year and move to really nice houses, and we would assume that Dad got a raise. That's all.
Yeah, that's exactly what we would assume. But that's just one of those things. Like, do you tell people? I know that I probably wouldn't tell. I probably would tell a couple of my close friends, and I would probably tell my family, but I would probably try to keep it as quiet as possible. Now, there is something that's going on, and it is very recent, about a woman in New Hampshire. And she won the lottery, but now she's suing the state because she wants to stay anonymous. And there's this whole thing going around is that if you win the lottery, you have to sign the back of your ticket, turn it in, and then they have your name on file. And I think it's pretty much for tax purposes. I can't think of any other reason why they would absolutely need your name. Right, Greg?
Yeah, maybe tax purposes, keeping track of everything. I mean, it's a lot of money going somewhere. They don't want it to just disappear to some unknown person in a offshore country or something.
Yeah, and so, anyway, she has her lawyers in New Hampshire at the New Hampshire Supreme Court trying to fight this, trying to be able to stay anonymous. They actually just recently came down with a ruling. And it all comes down to the procedure that you go through to get your ticket. So when she got her ticket, she saw that she had the winning numbers. She signed the back of her ticket. And then before she turned it in, she got a lawyer, and then she wanted to do the anonymity thing. Well, once you sign the back of that ticket, you cannot get another ticket and turn in a blank ticket. To get the money, you have to turn in the exact ticket that you purchased to get the money that you won. So the whole deal was they were trying to be able to have her turn in a ticket that didn't have her name on it. But the state just ruled that she already signed the ticket. It's a legally binding document. She has to go through with it now if she wants the money. Now, she could always decide not to claim the prize.
But who's going to do that?
Yeah, I don't know anybody who would just... At some point, she's just got to say, I've just spent a lot of money on lawyers. I'm going to just claim the prize and deal with it from that point on. I'm sure that her concerns that she has will be worked out with the money that she's going to bring home.
I mean, realistically, she could go under the radar and essentially go off grid for a year, and people will probably completely forget that she won the lottery when she surfaces back up in a different state under a different location or something like that. That might be an extreme if you really want to protect your privacy, but realistically, nobody remembers who wins the lottery. Nobody, you hear the name, you see where they were from, but nobody remembers that.
Yeah, and it's like the $1.5 billion lottery winners that we heard from earlier. Honestly, if you had asked me, oh, Brian, before we did the research for this podcast, oh, Brian, where did those lottery winners come from? I would have absolutely no idea. I can vaguely remember that there was a large amount of money that was won a couple of years ago, and I played ticket in that lottery. But otherwise, I didn't even know that it was 1.5 billion. I knew that it was a very large amount of money. That's about as much as I remembered.
So yeah, that's a lot of money, that 1.5 billion. How a lot of this is based in the United States, and I believe there are lotteries in every country essentially around the world, but do they ever reach the magnitude of the US?
No, so I actually did a little bit of research, and by research I went on Wikipedia. So I don't know how accurate these facts are, but I think they're pretty accurate for these purposes. There are tons of countries all around the world that have their own lotteries, but none of them are going to compare in the size of the United States. If you actually look at the list on Wikipedia of the largest lotteries ever won in the world, the first 11 are from the United States. The next one, so number 12, is Euro Millions lottery, which is done by all the different European Union states. And that was split between 2 people from France and 1 person from Portugal in 2006. And it was a total of 183.5 million euros.
So that's a nice little chunk of change, but it's definitely not on the scale of the United States here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really kind of crazy. Like, our highest is $1.5 billion, and the largest from any other country is 183.5 million. But there's also an interesting thing. Different countries have a different approach to lottery systems. So in the United States, you buy a ticket, it usually costs less than $10, depending on what you do, what kind of power-ups you do and stuff like that. And then you wait until you win. If you win, then you have to pay taxes on the winnings, and then you get a final number. So what I found was interesting is in the Netherlands, if you take the lump sum of the lottery winnings, it is tax-free. However, on the front end, you pay a larger tax to get your ticket. So, Greg, would you rather pay more tax on the front end, or would you rather pay more tax on your winnings?
Now, I'm not an economics guy, but I feel like it would be more profitable for the state that's running the lottery to do it on the front end, because more people are purchasing the tickets and you can tax that. Now, the money mathematics, how it works out in reality or in practice, I'm not entirely sure. In my mind, I think it would be a little bit more profitable to tax the initial purchase of the ticket. And now that might mean that the price of a lottery ticket goes up a couple bucks or something like that. And some people will probably be upset or they will stop playing for some time. But realistically, with inflation, they'll just get over it. They'll start playing again. The ticket price of a lottery ticket will go up a few bucks, and then that's it. What do you think, Brian?
Well, I agree with you. I think that people are going to forget about the increase or the tax. It's like anything that they, put a tax on or they put an increase on. For probably the first 2 or 3 months, people complain about it, and then they just get over it and live their lives. Now, this is the more fun and exciting portion of our podcast, but let's pretend that the lottery is a number we cannot even fathom. It is so high that we could purchase anything in the world. We could purchase everything in the world. But Greg, what would you do if you had absolutely no restraint and all of the money in the world if you won a lottery?
Okay, Brian, I'm going to paint you a picture. And I'm going to tell you a story. So I need you to, kick back, keep drinking your beer, enjoy yourself a little bit, and listen to the tale of Greg the Rich Man.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, good. First thing that's going to happen is you're going to see me on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Now, it's not just going to be any yacht. It's going to be one of the most expensive yachts built in the next couple of years. Whatever it is, I don't know. I'll buy the most expensive one. I'm really looking at the price tag, not actually the yacht, just kind of to show my wealth. That's what's going on here. But anyways, so you'll see me cruising around the Mediterranean, living like a luxurious superstar, and enjoying my time on the water. I won't live in my fancy yacht, though it would be totally accommodable, and I could do it. I won't, because, of course, why would I? I'll charter out my yacht when I'm not using it to try and make back the money on the yacht in the first place.
So like a yacht Airbnb?
Exactly, yes. But it will be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I will basically be making bank. That's my thought. Now, when I'm not using the yacht, I will take my private airplane, which is obviously purchased and under my control, to some location in the Colorado mountains where I have a large ranch and basically everything I could possibly need to live and survive on my own. And that's going to be basically my $1 million purchases. I'm going to buy a yacht. I'm going to buy a giant ranch. I'm going to probably have a quaint house, but then underground some massive layer of awesomeness somehow. I don't know. I'll make it work. I have the money. We have the means. I will make it work. And so I'll have a ranch. It'll be great. And then I'll probably just spend whatever money I have left on fancy cars and a lot of really nice watches that are incredibly expensive. I don't know. You can go crazy with that stuff. So that's my plan. So that's the portrait of Rich Man Greg and what I would do if I had a gajillion dollars.
I like that portrait a lot, Greg. I really do. I think that you painted it perfectly. But I want to get back to something that I've just started to put together. I talked about wanting to be a Bond villain earlier. You just called the space underneath your house a lair.
Oh, okay.
I think what happens if either you or I win the lottery is we become supervillains.
Yeah, but our goal isn't to destroy the world. It's basically to just own the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a slippery slope, and we could easily go straight back down. But anyways, so that's right. If any of us win the world better, you guys better watch out. Or any of us win the lottery, the world better watch out, because we're gonna try to become, like movie supervillains status. At least I will. Absolutely.
Definitely. Now, Brian, tell me, I've painted the picture of what I would do. How about you paint me a picture of what you would do if you won a gajillion dollars?
So I really like the yacht idea. And I think that that is probably where I would start. I like the idea of being able to, dock in Rome and dock in London and, go around to the Far East. But I think that I would probably want to live on my yacht for a couple years, like at first. So I would probably want to travel the world via my yacht. And I would, you said you'd pick the most expensive yacht on there. I would agree. I would go for the biggest yacht I could possibly buy. But there's one other thing that I would need to have on that yacht so that I could go, because not all the cities I want to see are coastal cities. So I would need to also have a helicopter pad on my yacht, and so I can go a little inland and then go back out to my yacht. So because who wants to do have to go to an airport to get a helicopter? Like, no, I'll just have a helicopter on my yacht.
Okay, yes, of course. Who needs the riffraff of the common airport?
Exactly, the riffraff. We're getting real high society right now. But I think the next thing that I would go for is I like the idea of having a main, base of operations, like a ranch or something like that, where, you could do outdoor stuff. Like, I would really enjoy that. But I like the idea of travel. And so I would like to own, a house in the south of France. I would like to own a house in, Italy, maybe in wine country. I would like to own a house in Southern California. I would own a house in, the Colorado mountains, like around Aspen or something like that. So I would like to own, like, not mansions, but just houses in these areas so that I could be like, oh, I'm going to go spend time in my south of France house. Stuff like that. So that's kind of where I would go. And then finally, let's go back to my main compound. One thing that I think that I would have to do if I won the lottery is I would have to start suiting up. I'd probably have to get a set of designer suits and start wearing them constantly. Because I feel like not many people can pull off wearing suits all the time. But if you have enough money, you could pull off wearing suits all the time. So suits and watches, like you said, because I think watches are one of the most classy items that any man can have. And then, of course, cars. You and I are both big car guys. I'd want to have a little bit of a representation of everything. Like, I would like to have, an old school Corvette or old school Mustang. And then I would like to have Italian supercar like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. And then I think the crown jewel, and this is just because I've been obsessed with Jeeps since I was like 15 or 16 years old, is that I would want to get a representation of every model of what is now the Jeep Wrangler, but started as the Willys Jeep back in World War II. So like a collection style model, not so much. I mean, I would like to drive them, but I'm thinking like Jay Leno's car garage kind of thing. But I'd like to every generation of that Wrangler all the way up to modern, and just kind of, that'd be the centerpiece of my garage.
Very luxurious indeed, Brian. But unfortunately, this wonderful dream must come to an end. We must have the final call go out. Brian, what are your last thoughts?
Yeah, so I think, I forgot one thing that I was going to say, Greg. One thing that I would buy. One thing, or a lot of things that I would buy. I would go on Amazon and I would purchase anything I wanted in whatever quantities I'd wanted. And I'd be getting Amazon packages constantly. And then maybe Jeff Bezos would finally recognize me and send me the t-shirt that I've been wanting for all these episodes.
Brian, I think he'll just look at you as some sort of a cash cow. He'll be happy that you're spending all your money, but that's it.
I just want a t-shirt. Like, that's all I want. Is it that much to ask for, Jeff Bezos? Like, you have tons of t-shirts and tons of money. Just throw a t-shirt my way. I've been promoting you for 9 episodes now.
Yes.
So, yeah. Throw me a t-shirt, Jeff. Anyways, no. So, first, into my real last thoughts. This beer is awful. I absolutely hate. I haven't even drank half of it. Overcarbonated, no flavor, and the sediment that I talked about earlier, the white sediment, has kind of settled out in the bottom. It looks like a poorly mixed Kool-Aid package. And I'm just not even interested in finishing it. I'm very disappointed. Again, this was a Purple Haze by Abita Brewing Company. Maybe I just got a bad beer. I'll give them another shot. Probably not with this beer, but I did not enjoy this at all. So that's my review on this beer. I'll talk more about it in my De Beers post that goes up later this week. But in terms of the lottery, I think that my final thoughts on this is that you need to do a lot of playing. This is not something that you can just wing. If you win it, you have to have the right support structure behind you to make the right decisions. So if you do win the lottery, get a lawyer, get a financial advisor, have a team of people that are going to help guide you through the process so that you can manage this insane amount of money that's coming in. So that's my thought that has come from this all. And you know what? I think that it's okay to treat yourself if you've got this money coming in. So if you win the lottery, treat yourself. Greg, what about you? What's your last call? What are your final thoughts on this?
Okay, so first off, with my beer, I was drinking Copyright Cream Ale by Griffin Claw Brewing Company, and I had this odd feeling that cream ales you're supposed to kind of mix with something else, because for the majority of this beer, it almost tasted flavorless. There's basically just carbonation, some generic beer flavor, but nothing else. So, I mean, I would try this if it was required with a different mixed drink, but I wouldn't just drink another can of this. It seems to be a dismal episode when it comes to beer, because we both had some sort of a meh experience.
Yeah, and Greg, didn't you try, I'm trying to remember, but didn't you have Not Your Father's cream ale or something along those lines earlier?
It was a vanilla cream ale, so it had flavoring to it, and I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it has to have something else. It can't just be a cream ale. Maybe it has to have some other flavor added in there.
Yeah, so, well, that's okay. But, that's my thought on the beer. Moving on to what we talked about, the lottery here. Essentially, my final thought is, if we do win the lottery, personally, I win the lottery, I'm going to probably end up spending it all and burning myself out because I'm still looking at all these yachts on this website here, and my gosh, they are awesome, but also $100 million. So, yikes. So that's it. Yep, I'd probably be totally financially unstable and ruin everything and spend it all. But, you know, you gotta live fast, die young, burn out quick, I guess. Some people enjoy that.
Yep, I mean, treat yourself.
Yes. I will take treat yourself to the next limit and treat myself every single day.
Okay. Well, Greg, I think that about wraps up this episode, and I think that you and I have a little bit of work to do because we can't have another episode where we have these kind of terrible beers. We need to make sure we get some good beers for the next episode of Broken Speaker.
Exactly. I'll do my research, I'll look into it, and I'll have something good next time.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys come back and listen a little bit more in our future episodes. We're always discussing interesting things happen around the world and in the news. So from Greg and I to you guys, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.